Welcome to Making a Difference. My name is Todd Morgan. We have an important guest here today. His name is Adam Milstein. Adam's going to talk to us about his family involvement, his family foundation. Adam, welcome. And my first question to you is, what life experience or experiences encouraged you to get so involved in philanthropy?
After the Army, I got married. I did a Technion, I did an undergraduate at Technion, that's the MIT of Israel. And at the same time, I worked in construction with my father, and it was very, very difficult times in Israel. Begin was the prime minister, inflation skyrocketed from 20% a year to 200% a year, and it was just a nightmare to finish the project we had committed to finish. So I think it really made me much stronger, resolute, and I think better in everything that I'm doing. And I decided to take a break. It was too much. I didn't have any time after the Army. I worked full-time and then did the university full-time. I decided to go to the United States to get higher education. I came here to LA in 1981, went to SC, and done a Master in Business Administration. And the plan was, at least that's what I told my wife, to just come 2 years and we're going back. We had 2 small girls. We kept our home in Israel completely locked, and still we had no plans of really leaving Israel. But when you're here, you say, okay, maybe I'll stay a year or 2 just to get the tuition back. And as you succeed in whatever you're doing, then there is more and more motivation to stay more here and less motivation to go back to Israel. And that's what happened from a business point of view. After finishing school, I worked as an agent for a few years, and then I started buying buildings with a partner. We did very well, and there was less and less reason really to go back. But I was not philanthropic. I was the typical Israeli that doesn't want to give any money to anybody. I think there was...
That's an interesting comment, by the way.
Well, that's how they are born, but it can be changed.
Right.
I think the lucky thing for me in that respect is that my partner was an Orthodox Israeli, modern Orthodox Israeli, and in the Orthodox community, it is part of life to give at least 10% to charity. And my partner is a very, very wise man. His name is David Hager, you might know him. And he said, it's not that you give 10% of your income to charity. Whatever you give, he said, God is going to give you 10 times more. So I'm a businessman, I'm an investment man, it makes sense, but I needed the proof. And the proof started to come, Whenever we were doing a big charity, whenever we were writing a big check, the next day or the next week, suddenly an unbelievable transaction came and we made 10 times more. So giving wasn't really anymore a question or an issue. The question was, who do I give to? In the beginning, I followed his advice. He's a modern Orthodox Jew, so I gave mostly to education, to religious education. But at that time, my daughters were in the university, and they're starting experiencing the anti-Semitism that's on campus, anti-Israelism, and we, as Israelis, we were outraged, and we felt we need to do something. So I started participating in events to do more with pro-Israel advocacy, such as Esha Torah here in Los Angeles, and APEC. And for me to give to those organizations was no-brainer. I was giving already. It wasn't an issue, should I give or not give? I'm giving, where should my money go? And I was moving from the religious education type of charities into the student, young professional, Israel advocacy, things that I felt can make a much, much bigger impact. And as I was switching, I felt that, it's much more difficult to give money than to make money. Because when you give money, yeah, you can write a check and you can end up with this, but you want your money to bring a return. It means that you need to see how it's being spent. And once you see how it's being spent, you might have some ideas. I'd like it to be spent a little bit differently. I like this program and that program. So my wife and I developed what we call, and I hope it's the right term, is we are an active philanthropist. We don't just write checks, but every organization, almost all the big checks that we write, we actually participate in the programming. We make sure that this program that we fund here is somehow connected to that program we do there. and we create synergy between organizations. And we work today with about 60 different organizations.
60.
Yeah. Every big Jewish organization that operates here in the United States that is a pro-Israel and it's an advocacy, we work with them. So Stand With Us was here this morning, Raz Ratztin, I understand, and we have been involved with Stand With Us from almost the beginning. Gila, my wife and I sit on the board of Stand With Us. So we are active, very active in Stand With Us. We have some programming that are funded and dedicated by us for student training, mostly student training. The same thing we have with APEC. We're big supporters of APEC, but we don't just write checks to APEC. But in APEC, we sponsor students that will go into the policy conference in Washington. We bring about a neighborhood of 100 to 200 students to APEC every year. In addition, we also bring another 150 Christian students from states such as Mississippi and Tennessee and Illinois. Students that are African American and Hispanic and Christian, because they also make senators and congressmen and policy makers. So we bring them to the policy conference. And then APEC select from all the non-Jewish students, the best 40 student advocates, and we pay for them to go to Israel on a non-Jewish birthright kind of a thing.
Wow. That's
Thanks. Just an example. We don't like to write checks. We want to make sure that the impact of everything that we do is the best and they're all connected.